Hello, my name is Tamara Hunter. This is the Service Hero Show 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. Today is 9/11. Today is September the 11th, 2020. And this is a very special show. So let's do this. Today we have our service hero, Kevin McCrudden. Kevin has been on the Service Hero Show before, and we have honored him for his service. And part of his service and what he is known for is motivating, yes, and inspiring, yes. However, he is the only person that has gone before the Congress to get a certain day recognized, and we're going to talk about that. And yes, what you see behind him is New York. Thank you for being here today, Kevin, and thank you for everything that you do.
Hey, Tamara, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing, and today is 9/11. Today is the 19th year since 19 years ago, on this day, things changed for our country, for many of us. And you are there in the very city, the very area. You are from New York City, and you were there on 9/11. You are right now in front of that area.
Yeah, so where I'm standing now is called the Promenade in downtown Brooklyn, or in Brooklyn Heights, and the backdrop used to be more dramatic. Used to be the Twin Towers, and for those of us from New York, this backdrop will never be the same. It's beautiful to see the Freedom Tower behind me, which hopefully people can see. But it certainly isn't the Twin Towers. And while they've done a beautiful job in the surrounding areas of the World Trade Center, certainly it'll never take the place of the Twin Towers. Certainly not in New Yorkers' minds.
And as there's many from all over the world that watch this show. There are many that are here right now, and I want to recognize them. We have Sherry McQueen. Thank you, Sherry McQueen, for being here, one of our ambassadors for Chemo Buddies. She is in the Grand Rapids area. We have Ruben, a Navy SEAL, retired, that is in the Texas area. We talked about on Wednesday the fact that he was recognized as our service hero, and we talked about how he felt on that day and how he considered going back into being an active Navy SEAL because of the events of that day. We have Carol Berzens. Thank you for being here. She has checked and made sure that we are live on E360 TV currently, and anybody that is watching this from there, thank you for being here with us. We will not be able to, of course, see any kind of comments from there. Carol is in Canada, and she's recognizing how beautiful that background is. And as I look at the sky there, Kevin, and as I've looked over the footage of that day was a beautiful day, wasn't it? September the 11th.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people in New York will remember, is that morning was a particularly beautiful morning. I actually wasn't in New York on that day. I was actually trapped in Omaha, Nebraska. I was working for a company out there, and I literally purchased a car on the 13th and drove back to New York. And as for people that were around that day, they'll know that you couldn't get anywhere. So it wasn't uncommon for people to either rent cars, and in my case, I bought a car and drove back to New York. Look, Tamara, what you do in the Service Hero program is just so brilliant, and I want to acknowledge that what you're doing and acknowledging people for their service is a wonderful thing. But no way do I want to position myself as a member of the service community. The brave men and women that are first responders, that are EMTs, our police officers, our military. Look, I'm none of those. I'm a person that saw a tragedy, and sort of my MO is I see lemonade where there's lemons, and I see. Pardon me for the noise in the background.
No, that's okay. It's like I had said before we went live, is that it brings it that much more into our senses right now. You are there. You are there in that area. You were pointing to me in the very, very distance where the Statue of Liberty is. We're looking at the water.
So let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can get the Statue of Liberty in the background. Over my right shoulder is Governor's Island, and you may be able to spot the Statue of Liberty way in the distance. It's about a mile away, maybe half a mile away, in New York Harbor.
Amazing. And so this is the East River you were pointing out to me. The East River is where
directly behind me. Yep.
And that is where when we look at the events of the day and we saw the buildings coming down, we saw the smoke, we saw all of that, we saw the people with all the soot all over them, and then we saw the heroes that were fighting those fires, that had the boats that were drawing the water from the river, the fire boats, and they are
FDNY,
yes, and you can only imagine. I put myself in those service here. They are true heroes. Those heroes' shoes and thoughts, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they knew at that time when those buildings came down, they knew that they had many that were in there, and they had fallen, that they had fallen police officers, fallen firefighters, and port
authorities,
right, the EMTs, so many, and so many of the civilians that were there.
So I think the interesting thing is that here we are, 19 years later, and these men and women that were heroes that went into the building as police officers, EMTs, firefighters, there's been 20 years of us acknowledging the importance of them in our lives. These people that, if you ask someone in the military about being a hero, one of the first things they'll say is, no, I'm no hero. I do what I'm asked to do. A lot of police officers feel that way, that they don't want to be acknowledged as quote unquote heroes. And none of those guys on that day wanted to either. Right. But here we are 19 years later, and, our heroes are being killed and stoned and beaten. It's so sad how the world has changed in the past 19 years. We talked earlier this year, and I had launched Motivate America 2020. The idea that hindsight is 2020, right? That what are the things that we can learn from the past? And look, there's good and bad people in the world everywhere, right? There's people that do bad things, and the celebration of 9/11, the acknowledgement of 9/11, will always stand out as a sad day, and I think it's the reminder, the hindsight, that there are people that are not nice people. There are people that are, whether we call them evil or mean or horrible people, there are bad people in the world that mean America harm. And unfortunately, there are people now in our country that mean America harm, that don't want America to be a peaceful place, to acknowledge the importance of our heroes, our service heroes, our EMTs, our police, our fire. Especially here in New York, unfortunately. As you can see, I'm wearing my I Am America shirt. I'm here in Brooklyn, so I'm getting a bunch of people that walk by kind of looking at it. Some shrug. I did have one man say, "Hey, great shirt." I don't know if I'll get arrested for wearing it or not, but New York's a different place.
And again, what an incredible skyline. You think about the skyline, and you think about the events that took place that day and thereafter. One of the things that we were talking about when we talked about this particular show is how there are so many people in that general area. You've got the New York, you've got the extended area there, and there are very few people, if any, that were not personally touched
Yeah.
by
Yeah, it's
someone.
fascinating how 3,000 lives can impact so many people. Yeah. For me in particular, my brother was in Tower 2, and I have a good friend, and his second stepbrother unfortunately perished, was with Cantor Fitzgerald. So for so many of us, yeah, there was a direct impact because we live here in New York. Those 3,000 lives are important to a lot of people.
Exactly, and they're important to all of us. I need to say that in the strongest way, because here I'm from Southern California, and yet I remember exactly where I was when I saw what was happening. I remember how that day unfolded. I remembered how then the weeks after unfolded. And I will say this in regards to that, it didn't matter that I was in Southern California and you were there in New York. We were all together in this together. We were all Americans.
Absolutely.
We were all citizens that were affected
We're all
by
Americans.
this. Exactly.
Right.
And
We were
and
Americans. Yeah.
and we drew together. And that is the thing that was so beautiful about the tragedy. From a tragedy, something beautiful took place. And that is one of the reasons, yes, I have called you a service hero a few times, and I will continue to. You can be honest about and humble about it. That's fine. But like, I took this stand with this show because of the fact that the majority of the service heroes that I recognize are exactly like you. You're going to be humble about it. However, we need to be at the top of the rooftops right now, and we need to be shouting out loud those that are serving others. You know why? Because that is the action. Those are the activities. That is the motivation. That is the inspiration that we need to be having nowadays, rather than concentrating and shining the light on all of the stuff that's happening out there that's not so wonderful. We have people like you, Kevin, people that honor others. And you went before Congress, yes, after 9/11, and said, we need to continue this inspiration and motivation on a yearly basis. And I love your way of doing it. Well, I couldn't do it on January 1st because everybody's already celebrating that day. So I'll do it on January 2nd. So we every day, every year, we remember, and then we are inspired and motivated to keep that and going forward with
Well, I
some
think the
positive.
the intent was, to your point, Tamara. So after the occurrence, here in New York and across America, as you've said, I mean, you personally know firefighters in your family that came to New York to help out during that period of time. There were firefighters from all over America and partly from around the world that wanted to come to New York to help out, not only to obviously help, but also as a symbol of unity. And I
Right.
think that sense of unity and a unified America is something that we need to get back to. And as you know, the creation of Motivation and Inspiration Day, this was the impetus.
Right.
I saw the reaction of people being motivated and inspired and helping each other out and not caring whether you're a Democrat or Republican or anything else. All they cared about is everybody wanted to help each other. And that's the spirit of America, the idea of trying to help each other in our time of need. And if you look around the world, anytime there's a tragedy since then, in the past 20 years, there's been a lot of issues across America and the world. And Americans are always there. They're fighting for financial support, moral support. We are always there to do the right thing. And unfortunately, I think there's a handful, a small group of people that are tainting what America is. America is still what I refer to as the greatest country in the world, as well as the greatest country in the history of the world. And there really is no debate about it. You can check through the history of the world. America is the greatest country in the history of the world. And we need to stand up for what's right and continue to do the right thing. But today is an example of there is evil in the world that does and do mean us harm, and we need to realize that we need to stick together, we need to fight together, we need to be unified, and quit being so divisive.
And I so completely agree with you. And in fact, the thing that people need to really understand too, and that is the 3,000 that lost their lives there. There were many countries
Yeah,
represented in
yeah,
those
absolutely.
lives. There were many countries that were affected by this, not only ours. This is a worldwide day of remembrance, and a day that no one should ever forget, because this event here can absolutely bring us all together. And that's what we really need to be concentrating on. And that is why I was so grateful that you
Amen.
said, yes, let's do this today, because of the fact that to be motivated and to be inspired. I love that 2020, 2020 vision. 20 and was in September, within the 2020 year. And what have we learned? What have we learned looking backwards? And yes, there are those things that are happening that right now that's so beautiful. That is just absolutely so gorgeous. So gorgeous. And you think about this. You think about the fact that 2020, our 2020 vision, we right afterwards, everybody pulled together. And now it's 19 years later, and we have separation again. And it would be so much, I'm just, I, I'm appealing. I'm asking. I don't want to be begging, but it's almost to that point where it's like,
Yep,
can
yep.
we look at today and have that 2020 vision and learn from today and not ask for anything else major, huge to happen again to bring us back together? Because
Amen.
we can do it. We can do it, right? We can
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what's funny is, one of the greatest quotes from, a president, Kennedy, was the idea of, don't ask what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And when we talk about our service heroes, these are people that understand that. They understand that they serve this great nation, and they do things for the community, and they do things for people that either can't do for themselves, or people that are brothers and sisters that they just want to help. And that's even our charities. And now during COVID-19, we've seen so many volunteers that have gone to food kitchens and gone to places to help hand out food. I mean, there are just so many good people in America that don't care what color your skin is, or what religion you are, or whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Those are the people that we need to appeal to, Tamara. We need to appeal to the people that really just, excuse me, don't give a shit about your background. They just
Yeah,
know that you're a good human being, and they want to help you. And I think that's where we need to get back to, is people that just want to help each other out.
absolutely. I have a question for you. All that
Sure.
greenery right behind you, is that Central Park?
No, this is
No.
Brooklyn. So on this side of the river, it's considered Brooklyn or Brooklyn Heights. And
Okay.
if I pan this way, so now once again the Statue of Liberty should be back in my backdrop again. And then a
Yeah.
little bit further is the Brooklyn Boatyard. The Brooklyn Boatyard is one of the most productive and busiest boatyards in the world. So a lot of things that come into New York Harbor come through Brooklyn.
Okay.
So I'm in one of the 5 boroughs of New York. I'm
Okay.
in
All right.
Brooklyn, and then obviously there's Queens, Staten Island, Manhattan, which we're looking at behind me. Um, Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx. We can't forget the Bronx because they'd be upset. So
Don't want to upset the Bronx. Don't want to do that.
definitely don't want to do that, man.
Don't want to
Don't
do
want to do
that.
that.
Okay. And let's see. I was
So the
34 years
the
old.
famous pictures that you were talking about. So the famous pictures from actually are from New Jersey, with the Twin Towers and the smoke coming rising from them. because
Right.
actually in Manhattan, because of all the tall buildings, you don't have the vista. You can't really see it from a distance. You're right there. You're right under it. So from Brooklyn, you have a vista of downtown Manhattan, and then.
Okay, he should be back here in a moment. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to play a clip. And I want you guys to realize this is a clip from that day. And so you're going to see events as they were taking place. And, well, he's back, I believe. Okay.
Did I lose you for a second?
Yes, you
I think
did.
I
I
lost
was
you for a
just
second.
about to show a clip while you were gone. And so, but I know that you've got a battery situation. I want to be, how is your battery doing?
I think I'm at 40, so it'll be close. I think I'm all right for now. But if you want to show a clip, please feel free to.
Okay, I'm going to share a clip and then we'll be back and we can talk about it.
Great.
The two planes flew into the two towers.
The North Tower is down. All personnel be advised. The North Tower is down.
Always tough to watch.
Yep. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Look, since the Monroe Doctrine in America, we've had, essentially we've been isolated because geographically we're so isolated, right? World War II was fought in Europe, and there's still bullet holes in buildings in, all throughout Europe. And they're reminded constantly of the horrible events of World War II. They know it. They saw it. Many were losing the greatest generation, but they lived it, right? So they have those reminders. To have terror and to have horror and to have evil brought to the shores of America is an unusual experience for us, because we have been able to stay remote and removed from so many things in Europe and other places around the rest of the world. And I think that's why it's so impactful and so painful for so many of us, because it's just not that common here in America,
Yes, and on top of that, the fact that we have, even though we didn't have smartphones, we had cell phones, we have film, we have there in New York, you had a lot of the newscasters. In fact, I do have one short clip of a newsman that was talking about the fact that he was getting phone calls on not only his cell phone but on his landline, and he wasn't accustomed to that. And
Right.
and that he was in the shower when all of this started taking place, and went running, going down there with the news van, got on top of the news van, started shooting the film, and then realized what was going on. He had been told there was a plane that had gone into a tower, but didn't realize what the extent of it was. And that was not an uncommon situation you hear from many of the newscasters, because New York being one of the hubs, so you have so much footage that
it took a while for people to decipher whether it was an accident or not. And I think that was the initial response was, oh, how tragic, like someone, a plane flew into a twin tower, which, at that point in time, it was so much higher than the rest of the buildings. You could almost, understand, like, oh, wow, that, like, what a tragic accident. But then obviously when the second hit, it immediately became clear that this was an act of terrorism.
we have Sharon McQueen, and she's saying, I was sitting in my living room with my 4-year-old son praying that my cousin was alive. So, Sherry, your cousin was there in New York or in one of the towers? I would love to know if you'd like to share. Again,
and obviously, Tamara, I said this earlier about the service hero thing, but I want to make sure that I'm very clear. Our hearts and our prayers go out to those families that lost people and have lost people since. The first responders and the police and the FDNY that have died from cancer-related causes since then.
Yes.
This has had a long impact on a lot of people. So once again, I appreciate the service hero label, but those were the true heroes, and I just want to make sure that they all understand. I'm not standing here as a representative of any of them, but more as honoring them and honoring the contribution that they've made, not only since 9/11, on 9/11, but since 9/11, and the sacrifices they've made.
And I want to completely agree and say yes, myself included, because the Service Hero show today definitely is honoring those and remembering those affected by 9/11. You have been honored as a service hero in the past, and you are helping me today to honor all of those. And let's just make that very clear, because and that's why. Yeah, and it's the truth, because you are a service hero, yes. However, today, this is a special show. We are honoring those that gave their life. And I want to add to something I heard today that is relevant today, and that is that there are many of those that were affected by 9/11, and you mentioned the cancers and the various things because of the dust. The dust was so prevalent. You can't help but, even the clip that we just saw, you saw the people all covered with it. And then as they went in to clean everything up and look for their fallen, the firefighters, the civilians, the Port Authority, the police, all the EMTs, all of them, as they were looking to see if they could find any survivors, and they're digging in there so that you had all of that dust coming up. And now with COVID going on, I was just hearing that it has taken a huge toll on those that have been affected by the 9/11, survivors.
Right, because they have respiratory issues. Right, exactly.
Right, right. And so that they right now, and I'm going to follow this, and I want to have and acknowledge this later and find out what happened. And we need to put a light on this, guys. And that is that right now they're trying to get COVID for those individuals as getting it, and so that they can get the help that they need and make that somehow related, because they're weakened systems because of 9/11.
Make them
And
more vulnerable, right? But
right.
here's the interesting thing is, once again, they didn't ask any questions, or not go into the buildings to go help people, and that's what their sworn duty was. That's what they intended on doing. Is they knew they were in danger, but they didn't stop, and that's what our military does, and that's what our EMTs do, and that's what our police officers do. They put themselves in harm's way on behalf of society. And I think we need to make it very clear, and you touched on it earlier. When you attack someone that is a police officer or a member of the fire department or an EMT, that blue uniform represents society. They are civility. They are the people that are trying to uphold a quote unquote civilized society. And when you attack that, what you're doing is you're breaking down and destroying quote unquote civilized society. And look, we all know that there's bad apples in every bunch. And
Yes.
I'm not defending anyone that has done anything wrong to a person of color or anybody else.
Right.
The interesting thing about the film from George Floyd and that situation was that we all knew the second we watched it that it was wrong. We knew that cop was wrong. Everybody knew it. And I just find it hard that all of us agreed, and we knew it was wrong, but yet it allowed some bad things to happen. These service heroes, these people that sacrifice their lives on a regular basis, and what does God say? The greatest gift you can give is to give your life for someone else. And we need to get back to honoring the 99.99% of our service heroes, our EMTs, our NYPD, NYFD, all our firefighters around the country and EMTs around the country. We need to get back to honoring them for the sacrifices they make.
I absolutely agree. And I love it that now there's a real awareness. When you see someone in the military, you actually will say thank you for your service. And that, to a point where sometimes they're like, you're welcome, like, okay, enough already, like, okay, can I go anywhere in my uniform and not have someone say that? However, we need to get into that. You're right, with our civil heroes, our service heroes that are the police, the fire, because I do know, and it's tragic to think. You think about what's happening right now, and this is an inspiring story that's supposed to be inspiring others. However, right now, today is an unusual day, and we are remembering 19 years ago. And then when we look at what the events that are happening today, the events that are throughout the United States, and so many of them in my area now, over here in the western states, we have our states on fire. I have been going live inside because, having all the toxins, you have to be very careful. And being a survivor of cancer, I'm going to be a little hyper vigilant. And we have firefighters that are having to be issued vests to protect them, and they already wear so much gear because of the fact that they have to carry their hoses.
Tamara, think about those men 19 years ago, those men and women carrying their oxygen masks and running up, countless flights of stairs, because the elevators were turned off. So they were running up countless flights of stairs to save people.
Yes.
running into a burning building that's a cauldron of just flames, and they went in. And now you think 19 years later, and you think about those men and women that are out in California, and they have children at home, they have wives and family at home, and they're going into those fires, and literally their bodies are like being torched.
Yeah.
And just think about the courage and bravery and strength of those men and women going into those fires and doing it on our behalf, trying to protect. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And you add to that, you add the police and the sheriffs and all of those that when they evacuate an area, what do? They stand guard, and they are protecting your property from theft, from all of these things, and they are doing it because they are serving our citizens. They are serving because that's what they chose to do, and I honor that. And as I think about, because if anybody, you think about the amount. Has anybody ever picked up 100 pounds, 100 pounds of anything, and when you think about 100 pounds,
And
and that
strap it
is
on your back.
yeah, that's the average amount of weight, extra weight that you've got as a fire professional that is going in, and you are going up how many flights of stairs to go and to then hopefully have the water on those stairs and on those floors functional to tie in with their hoses, and so that they can then, that's the goal then, to take care of, because a fire truck that has a ladder truck is what that's called. A ladder only goes up so many stories,
only about 3 or 4.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not many. So
No.
So they have to, and they cannot go into the elevators. If anybody does not know why, that is a very dangerous proposition. And yet you do study what they did, and some of them actually did go up, some of them. And one of the towers, if I remember correctly, they had to, and because of, again, they're willing to take the risk because they know that to get up to the higher elevation, and that is where you had a lot of, and be careful with, okay, guys, this is real. You had a lot of people that would rather jump than be burned.
So sad. So sad.
And you had that happening. And then the chirping after the buildings, after they fell, after they dropped, after they came imploded upon themselves, you heard the chirping. And anybody that doesn't know what a chirping is, the chirping is when there's not activity. When a firefighter is walking around and such things, then they don't chirp. But if they stop, and they stop for a period of time, that they know that chirping is meant, and so that if they are in a fire, they can be found. And you had chirping going on, and
very sad.
And it is. And so with the honoring now, 19 years later, the lessons that have been learned, the things that we can do about it, the things we can do is that we can encourage people to start doing something as simple as love, right? Unconditional love, unconditional caring for each other. And that's what this all started about with the Service Hero show, was to recognize things like someone that would open a door for someone that would do a kindness, to encourage people to find that service hero inside of them, that, like, we all have it in there. Some people may have forgotten. And I'm hoping that seeing this view right now, that view, Kevin, I can't even say thank you enough. I know you had to travel in traffic, and I can only imagine what it was like for you to get to where you are right now. and that
Tamara, you know what? It was worth the trip. I haven't been here in a long time, so it's a bit emotional for me. But to your point, look, we're all on a journey, right? We're all on this journey of trying. I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning and wants to suck. I don't think anyone wakes up saying, how much can I suck today? And I think people, I think people want to be good. And, I'm coming out with my 8th book here. It's an ebook called Transcendence. And I'm going to be talking about how we evolve, how we grow, how we transcend our current circumstances. And listen, as you know, I've been laid low. I've been, this is Suicide Prevention Month, and yesterday was Suicide Prevention Day. I have been to the depths of wanting to take my own life, and I'll be sharing some information about that before the end of the month. People go through a lot, and today is a day that we acknowledge those people that died, but also their families that have been tormented for months and years afterwards, that didn't know whether their loved one had died or not. The torment and the pain of wondering why they were hurt. And then there's also a lot of people that have amazing stories that they were supposed to be in the Twin Towers. As I had said, my brother was in Tower 2, and they carried people down the stairs that couldn't walk. They carried people down the stairs in wheelchairs. They carried people that had a hard time breathing. Unfortunately, the tragedy and some of the stories about the falling glass that actually hurt people when they were on the ground already out of the building. There's just so many, fortunately, horrific stories, Tam. After we evolve, nobody wants to dwell on personal pain and personal anguish, because in psychology, or in what I do about helping people overcome adversity and become successful, you can't dwell on the past. You can't hold it as a restriction and limiting you from your positive future, which I'm living.
Right.
Our challenge is, how do we remember? How do we look back and remember 9/11 as a day to acknowledge for its importance, without the pain, without the difficulty? Obviously, there's families that will never be able to do that because they lost people. But we need to be able to move forward with our lives in a positive way. And I think that is why I question our evolution and the transcendence and how we're transcending, because there's too many people that are not holding us back, but are looking backwards and are not looking forward. And I think that's what we need to do, is look forward in a positive way about the positive lessons we've learned. And from the mistakes, let's correct those. And that's where the 2020 comes in. How do we correct the mistakes that we've made in the past? And how do we create a positive future for all of us? Which I think America is sort of a shining light of that. So we have to make a positive future for all of us.
Absolutely. I know that there are many that are wondering, because you've mentioned your brother a couple of times. Did your brother make it out?
He did. He made it out. There certainly were challenges afterwards because of what happened. But we know a number of people that didn't, and we know their families. And one in particular, my friend's stepbrother, was actually on the phone with his mom and said, "Mom, I'm not going to make it." And he literally was able to call his mother, and he knew the fire was below him. He's was with Cantor Fitzgerald, and it was noted in the New York Post and in stories in New York that he essentially called his mom and said, "Look, Mom, I'm not going to make it." And if you think of that tragedy, think about a mom knowing that her son is dying in this building, and there's nothing she could do about it. Nothing. Really tormenting.
Oh yeah, I have 3 sons myself, and
So
yeah, absolutely. The light, you mentioned the light, you mentioned the positive, you mentioned, and I am all about that. I am all about the fact that I said it actually yesterday on air, and that is, I don't believe in the victim card. I don't play it. I don't believe in it. However, the bottom line is this: there is pain. Yes, life is life, and life is going to present us challenges. It's how we get through these challenges and how we can do it together, how we can unite, how we can say, okay, I'm having a rough day, I'm in pain, I need someone that's going to help me, and then you help another, and we get through this together. And there has been healing, and there can continue to be more healing. Yes, we need it. We need people to
We do.
remember, and I love the fact that they've chosen to go with that. We will remember. We will never forget. And we need to remember
Yeah.
these lessons. There's a beautiful little clip that I've got that I want to share for those that maybe have never seen it. It's going to be again tonight. You'll be able to watch it live probably, but I would love to be able to share now what the lights look like that are replace the twin towers, and
Twin
then we
Towers.
will.
And
Yeah,
in New York, they were almost going to prevent them from doing it this year. So I'm so glad that positive forces were put in action to make sure that we could enjoy the lights tonight.
excellent. Well, we're going to have a preview. This is from another year, but I'm going to share. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Looks as though we'll see if he's still with us. Yes, you're still with us. Good. I can't hear you. I don't know what's wrong now. We're having problems with sound, and I don't know why. I'm going to, let's see. Why don't we, let's try it one more time. No. All right, I'm going to remove you and then bring you back up. Okay, let's see if this will do it. Okay, let's see. No, I'm not sure. You may need to go out and then come back in. Hopefully he can do that. All right. All right, let's see. He's going to come try back in. I want to say this to everyone that is here right now, that I honor the families that have lost someone from 9/11, if it was on that day or if it has been since that day, from any of the associated factors that have taken place. I want to also honor all of those that served there on that day and made it, all of those families that stayed waiting to hear if their loved one was still alive or not. I want to also say to all of those in any which way that have shared their short stories over the years, that were a part of that they got out of the buildings, that they were in any way involved. I want to say that we appreciate each and every one of your stories. We appreciate the fact that many have shared these stories, and every single person. I was watching something on National Geographic, and it was a ticket agent, and he didn't think he had much to share. However, he did, and I want to say thank you to that person. Thank you for coming back. I hear you, so we're good.
Can you hear me? All right,
I
good.
can hear.
I needed to refresh. All right.
Yes.
So,
not
Tamara,
a problem.
along those two lights, so the lights themselves shine from the footprint of the actual Twin Towers. So where if people have been to New York, those beautiful wading pools, the prayer pools that are in place with everyone's names around it, that's actually the footprint of the actual original Twin Towers, and the lights shine up out of them into the sky. So that's what makes it just so dramatic and powerful.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, when I looked for a clip that we would be able to share, and this is actually from the memorial there, taken from them. And as I was looking at all of them, I'll tell you, they are so incredibly moving. And there's,
Oh, yeah.
I am looking forward to seeing it again tonight.
Well, it is. It is one of the. It's one of those places that is truly emotional when you go there. You can feel the power and the energy, and it's an inspirational place. Let me share two more things before the end of the show and before you go. Thank you so much for what you do, and God bless you for all of the work that you do in acknowledging the amazing Americans, the amazing people that we have in America that don't ask for acknowledgement, but do just such a tremendous service for America. And thank you for doing that. Number two, we talked about my book I have coming out, which will be out in the next few weeks, an ebook about transcendence. You mentioned light. And I'm just going to touch on this. I have a movie coming out in 2021 called The Light of Man. And the light of man is directly related to man's relationship with God and God's relationship with man. The secret of our entire existence is that light. And that is going to be the most profound and one of the most powerful things I'll ever do in my life, is to release this movie about God's relationship with man and man's relationship with God, called The Light of Man. It is, Tamara, to your point, it's about the light, and it's about the energy, and it's about God, and it is the secret of life. It truly is.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see it. I cannot wait. And thank you for everything you do. Thank you for being who you are, Kevin. Thank you for taking this time and sharing something so incredibly beautiful, impactful, and helping to honor those today that truly are service heroes. And that would be all of those that gave their life on September 11th, all of the families that continued their lives from September 11th, and all of those that in one way or another were affected and our frontline service heroes. Yes, we honor all of you, and today especially, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your service. We need to start doing that more, don't you think, Kevin?
Absolutely. So as I leave you, Tam, because I'm just about to run out of battery, I reiterate your comments. God bless all those people that are on the front lines serving and serving our community and helping to keep us safe. Please, everyone, keep in mind that 99.999% of the police and the firemen and the EMTs in our country are really, really good human beings that are sacrificing their time, their energy, and their efforts to help our civilized society exist. And they are not bad people, and we need to remember that. So, Tamara, thank you so much for having me on again. God bless you.
Thank you. And everybody, thank you for being here. We have had an amazing evening or amazing day. So very beautiful up to the heavens. Absolutely, Sherry. I agree. And so as we close today on September the 11th, 2020, with the vision of knowing what we know now, can we all please remember this day in our hearts. We have said we will never forget, yet are we remembering on September the 12th? Are we remembering on January the 11th? I mean, whatever day, January the 2nd is motivation and positive that day. And we want to remember that day because our secretary, Kevin McCrudden, made sure that we have that day for all of us to remember. Go out
Thanks for the
there and
plug, Dan.
you're welcome. Well, yeah, wink, wink. It's all about being there for each other. And so let's do that today. Please, 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 if you know someone that is a first responder, say thank you today. And then remember to say thank you again tomorrow. All right. We'll see you guys on Monday. Bye.